the standings, just like you. You said it, fight to the death, Frostcurrent.
And I want to put some context here because the analyst desk was a little bit wishy-washy on who was going to come out on top. Just strength of schedule alone, Schalke have faced middle-of-the-pack teams Vitality, SK, and Misfits. Excel have faced Origin, Mad Lions, Rogue, Fnatic, and SK. So, of course, Excel, by strength of schedule, are sitting bottom of the standings. Schalke have technically had way more shots at kind of these mid-tier teams to start picking up wins.
That is absolutely fair, Frostcurrent. But even Schalke have had their fair share of challenges in G2 Esports and Rogue. So we'll see today if we can see more from Schalke, as Dylan Falco mentioned, or if it's going to be more of the same. Orin banned away, the Vars follows, the Azir as well.
Okay, so one of the biggest differences between how Excel and Schalke will play, there's many of them, but just to start with one, is the top laners. Kryze, obviously the newest member to join Schalke, or excuse me, Excel, known for his Vladimir, his Gragas, his Kayle. Odoamne has been primarily stuck on tank duty. Occasionally he'll get the bruisers, but most of the time they're being denied away from him. By banning an Ornn from blue side, I actually think might be a misstep here. I would think that you would want the Ornn because then you could take your scaling matchup into an Ornn, hopefully not feel pressured. But if you try to take bruiser matchup versus scaling matchup and let Odo just smash on your top laner who's been struggling in the LEC, that's something to watch out for.
It is something I'd be very concerned about. Now, of course, for Kryze, he did struggle in the Ornn versus Kayle matchup, I believe it was, and has struggled in the past. So maybe just not comfortable with that champion specifically. We'll see what the pivot is here. But Patrik going to play his second game now of Kalista. Like seeing him on something that can get a lot of work done in the early to mid game, but it does mean giving up Trundle. I think the one undisputed S-tier jungler, currently at a 75% win rate here in the LEC.
And you would assume that this is going to be the Nautilus pickup for Torre then, now that you see the Thresh, you see the Trundle. Because Aphelios has been taken off the board, maybe Neon goes towards the Misfortune, or maybe even the Ezreal is kind of the other ADCs that are left open now that Syndra, Aphelios, Varus, and Kalista have been grabbed away. But there's that Volibear.
And this is what I'm wondering about. Ender said it himself. The jungle win rate looking pretty solid there in solo queue. Where is it going to go is the big question on my mind. Does not fit into what we know from Kryze so far, which is scaling and magic damage.
But here they are prioritizing Kryze's champion pool, unless this is a flex Volibear all the way into the support position. Because Volibear's support would also work very well with Kalista. Torre has been known to be a Volibear player, so I'm going to hold off and say that it's for sure either a top lane Volibear, jungle Volibear, or even a support Volibear. But if it is top lane, that means you leave Torre's pool wide open to start getting slashed at. And there it goes.
And the Blitzcrank, of course, taken away here. And one thing that I love about this draft, Frostcurrent, is we were talking a lot about the bot lane meta before we came onto the desk today. One of the champions that you were not seeing that you wanted to see more of was the Ashe. Now, Neon has picked it up here for himself, and I want you to talk about Ashe. But the other thing I have to say is, finally, Dreams is not on Yuumi. This man is a playmaker. He was sentenced to cap boredom for his first 2 games. Finally, he gets to play Thresh. But tell me about the other half of that bottom lane in the Ashe.
I think it works together really well on how they're going to function in this game, especially with Dreams that you're saying being that more aggressive, roaming-oriented support. When you have a Trundle, depending what the jungle matchup is, you're going to skirmish, you're going to be a duelist, and you're going to contest into the river. Ashe has great wave push, obviously, with the volley. She can maybe stay away from the Kalista. You don't want to take a lot of all-in trades unless your CC chain hits, but you can try to keep her under the tower, especially with Orianna. Hopefully you get push priority there, or you can contest for it. I think that Thresh, Ashe, Ori with the Trundle, this is all about river control and skirmish control for the early game.
And I really got to see how Schalke round this composition out for Odoamne, because he's been targeted in the draft. If you just look at Excel's bans, you would think tanks were the most OP thing in the meta at this exact moment. The Malphite, the Maokai, the Ornn.
Listen, they know that Patrik is their best player, and they're like, delete all the champions that ruin Patrik's day. Get rid of the Maokais. I don't want that W on my Kalista. Get that Malphite out of there. I don't want him flying back onto my Patrik. Excel's plan, keep Patrik alive. Everyone else does damage. Everyone split up.
Oh, and I like the sheer amount of engage we're now seeing from this Excel lineup. The Rakan coming out as well. This is a champion that we haven't seen in a long time, quite frankly. But with Guardian buff, maybe he can feel a bit more comfortable on the bottom side of the map. A bit difficult to play into Thresh, but we know Torre is incredibly proficient at roaming if he is able to find an advantage.
And we also do get an answer then, because it was Torre that ended up on the Rakan, not grabbing the Volibear. Kryze taking that to the top side. We talked about how Torre's champion pool was going to get nailed in secondary ban phase, the Nautilus and the Blitzcrank. Excel are prioritizing getting Kryze on a comfort champion, something that he is used to playing, and they left Torre and their bot lane a little bit out to dry because Rakan Kalista isn't going to be as strong as the Nautilus Kalista.
And I'm a little curious as to how the rest of this early game is now going to play out as we get into game for Oscarin, because Kryze is a man that we have seen. He performed in the late game when he got the time to scale. And the win that XL had, there's no doubt that that's what happened. But in every other game, he has struggled a ton in the early game. Now he has to play GP into Wukong. Going to get some armor from that passive, but still going to be quite a difficult matchup. And in the meantime, we get to see, I believe, our first Volibear jungle game here in the LEC. So a lot to be figured out from both these teams, because I gotta say, it's a very different look from Excel this week. No more AP on the top side of the map. We finally get Kryze on the Wukong.
Yeah, but I think for now, if you're an Excel fan, you're still looking at Patrik, and then you're looking at what Caedrel can get done with this Volibear. When you have a Twisted Fate and a Volley, you have a very clear gank access into mid lane, and then hopefully that snowballs down to your all-star ADC and getting Patrik going. So that's the step-by-step for Excel.
Here we go, XL versus Schalke, coming at you now. And here we go, our first game of week 3. It is XL versus Schalke, 1-4 versus 05, the battle of the bottom. I don't know, do we need more than that? I think that's...
Sorry, I was having a conversation with the producer.
That's fine. Battle of the bottom. No. Everything on the line for both these lineups.
So we're gonna get this
random
fixed.
Squiggly line drawn on the screen by Frostgurn. What does it mean?
It's
chat?
not my fault.
What does it mean, Frostgurn?
Technology is being a little bit rude to me, so I'm just gonna click it over here and hopefully it stops doing its thing. Oh no.
Oh wow. Okay. So when we said, oh, never mind. Well,
I can't.
We'll take it away from you.
Okay.
Anyway,
we got it. Thank you, production.
It's been turned off. We've lost the ability to draw, which means you'll see no more squiggly lines, but you'll also see no more unintentional squiggly lines. So an interesting trade. But I think before we hit team narratives again, we have to talk about the early game here, because this is the first time that we've seen Volibear jungle.
Before we even jump into Volibear jungle, I wanted to point out that a level 1 actually didn't come out for both these teams. We talk about how Young Buck with Fnatic used to always do the level 1s. Excel have been a big proponent about that. Schalke against their game of Misfits also showed their clever level 1 up on the top side. And the fact that everyone just kind of took a step back and accepted, like, defensive vision, we're going to be hiding behind our towers practically and just setting out some few scouting wards, is pretty interesting to me. It tells me that they're both confident and just kind of scaling up with their compositions, that they don't want to just throw this over something random in a level 1.
And it also tells me, Frostgurn, that this game is as serious as we're making it out to be, because level 1s are very intense. They can be very high risk, especially if one team happens to be stacking 5 people in a bush in anticipation of it. So much more calm, much more respectful start here, as we see both junglers clearing rather quickly, but the Volibear clear speed very fast right now as that passive starts to proc, as the shield starts to come through. A healthy clear as well, so clearly maximizing the kit here on this first clear.
Yeah, and Ender had a great Volibear breakdown. You just really covered it. It's the fact that he's quite fast. He'll stay really healthy. One of the issues that Ender pointed out in his breakdown was that he still doesn't have the greatest gank asset as some other champions, namely like a Jarvan or a Lee Sin. That said, when he does get the ability to just sprint at you, especially has access to that Chilling Smite, I think he ganks just fine, especially when he has set up from a Twisted Fate. We've seen this all the time from LEC as well as over in the LPL. You get that gold card, you just have the targetable point-and-click CC, and you just allow your jungler to rock up and ruin someone's day.
And that really excites me, because I want to see more from the Special Caedrel duo. Caedrel is such a core component of this Excel lineup, and while Special and Kryze have had, let's say, varying performances so far, I don't feel like we've seen that clear jungle mid synergy that we so often love. Hold that thought. Though the double knockup does come through. Dream's going to get the play backwards, but Patrik remains unconcerned and just continues to throw auto attacks out.
Now Caedrel trying to use some of the speed and health of Volibear to kind of peek in, look at Trundle. I really like Volley as a pick for Caedrel in particular. I feel like he's been struggling a bit to make use of some of his jungle matchups. A champion like this can just kind of sit and power farm if he wants and not necessarily be punished for it, as maybe something like a Lee Sin could be, where you don't use that power early, you kind of lose it as you transition over to mid-game. It feels like Volley scales quite well. And
we saw that in his game last week, where he was able to find that early kill and then got a Tiamat, was power farming, but wasn't able to get a lot more done past that. Caedrel now just walking through the mid lane, heavily telegraphing exactly what's going to happen here, but they don't know where Special is, and it just means that Caedrel's going to get uncontested access to this scuttle, and it forces bot lane to back off as well.
And something that we were talking about in draft was that if you look at Schalke's composition, you know, when you look at champions like, just in their isolation, Ashe, Orianna, Thresh, Trundle, you're like, oh, they can actually really contest for a lot of this river control because these champions would have good skirmish ability. But when it's a Kalista, a Twisted Fate, and a Volibear, suddenly the shoe is on the other foot, and it's Excel that are controlling these scuttle crabs and controlling a lot of this early priority.
Man, you can see Torre playing pretty fearlessly for a bot lane that is so powerful. Of course, Dreams is a nice predict on the hook, but it doesn't amount to too much here yet. And the gold sitting at about dead even now. This game feels like it's going to be a lot about level 6s. The Ashe arrows, but maybe even sooner than that as Odoamne now has to back off. Kryze potentially overstaying his welcome here as he is caught in enemy territory, but Lurox is getting his butt kicked. That is a massive wave and he has to flash out. Oh no.
We have found the champion for Kryze. Get him on the Wukong. I'll hold it though. Gank bot lane. Looks like a dive actually, been spotted.
And I like that we're already speeding up the pace of this game so far. Not gonna have any, just pressure here. Neon feeling like he can't really afford to approach the tower, but he sees that the health bars are pretty low on the side of Excel, so starts to feel more comfortable as the wave crashes.
Also, really good vision from Excel in the river, catching when Special on the Twisted Fate walked back and forth into the lane. Ooh, that one's gonna hurt.
Torre, dash away, the slow's still there. Dreams.
It's flash for flash, he's not gonna burn it.
He's thinking about it, though. He's wondering if this is his Mad Life moment. I missed Dreams on champions with hooks.
He's thinking, I'll wait until level 6. There's no reason to burn my flash for Rakan flash right now.
Look, you believe what you want. In my mind, Dreams is a fearless playmaker. But yeah, you're right. That's probably objectively just the better decision and train of thought. Now, Frostgarden, I want to shift our attention back to the top lane because you brought up the Wukong. And I think Kryze as a player is a guy that I haven't been sold on, but I feel like week to week you've been talking to me a lot about the small improvements you've been seeing from some of these solo laners on the side of Excel.
I feel like one of the issues for Kryze and Special, we've said it time and again, just to reiterate, was their wave control. It was really clear, especially against Rogue, how much Kryze got abused because the wave got away from him. That was the Ornn versus Kayle game that just went absolutely sideways. But already, you can see a much better turn. Yeah, his wave got out of control. He got ganked. He was able to turn it around, though, due to the power of Wukong, and now has a wave finally pushing back to him. So small improvements over time between Kryze and Special as they learn how to play team-oriented League of Legends on the LEC stage.
And the timing here is sick from Caedrel. Right as they take over to level 6, he's going to get the second stack there. Caedrel now flashing in. He's going to get the stun under tower. And goodbye to Odoamne. First blood for the side of Excel. Kryze, an excellent start to this game.
Yeah, Big Bear comes rocking out. Has the first stage of his jungle item complete. Not even going for the chilling smite.
Doesn't need it.
Doesn't care.
Wukong's got all the setup. TF's got all the setup. I really like what we're seeing from Excel.
What I do find really interesting, though, that we didn't quite get to cover was the dragon setup. So Excel actually had initial back or tempo on the back because they backed while Neon and Dreams pushed out the lane. And there was actually going to be a window where if Excel wanted to, they could have contested the Infernal, but instead they sent Caedrel topside to clear his camps and to pick up that gank. So something to watch if Excel are consciously making a decision of prioritizing their lane power rather than these early Drakes. And sometimes teams are really split on whether they find value in early Drakes or actually find value in getting their lane snowballed ahead. Because ideally, you don't really matter until you're contesting for that soul point or contesting for those 3 stacking Drakes.
But we did see in Mad vs. Fnatic what can happen if you are willing to trade a 2K gold lead for 2 or 3 Drakes. It can really put your back against the wall if you're not able to further snowball that early gold lead. So have to keep track of how well Excel can do this. I like the move to take away enemy blue buff. Very smart. Going to make Abbedagge, who's already out of mana, very uncomfortable here in the mid lane.
And also, Neon and Dreams have not gotten to use any sort of pressure in this lane. You'd think that, I don't know, they're just getting smashed in. I don't know if they're afraid of the Twisted Fate or they're really afraid of the all-in potential of the Kalista, especially with Hail of Blades. I'll hold it, though.
Kryze, of course, can't get out as he has the clone up and available. Conqueror now proc, he has to be feeling pretty good. Special debating if he wants to commit, uses the ult just to get vision of exactly where Odoamne is, but can't just port it right back to mid lane.
Yep, that was a 3v2, so Special quickly gets the highlight, notices that his jungler's on the bottom side of the map. Maybe not the best time. Pulls out.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I love the Summoner Spellbook coming in for the TF as well now. He can grab another Summoner. You can see the Ghost already highlighted over here.
Listen, his game plan is very clear. That was a first back Swifties. He's like, lane phase is done now.
Abbedagge, I respect you. That said, not gonna lane against you. Going to leave as much as humanly possible.
I respect you maybe too much.
Kryze, though, getting aggressive once again. Have to see if Odoamne can outplay this, but the double Cyclone here is just too much to deal with. Odoamne has no tools to get away from that one. And oh, Kryze! Oh, I mean, it's his first winning lane phase. Why not? Just double down, get the emotes in.
Wukong, I'm gonna say, I haven't tested a lot of Wukong. I've seen him kind of briefly, watched a couple of programs. I'm gonna say, looking at that, there's not a lot going on. Like, if I'm Odo, I'm just like, I didn't estimate the damage. I didn't have flash. I guess if I don't have flash, I don't get to lane against this guy anymore.
Yeah,
Just walked at him and spun. It was like Beyblade action. I don't know.
It was 2 Beyblades. He has his own little Beyblade battle on top of the Gangplank. He's just the collateral damage across current. And of course now, we've gotten the Herald taken away, matching a lot of what the Dragon is going to do. We have 2K gold lead already from Excel. We heard from the desk both, I'll say soft Excel predictions, as people weren't coming in with 100% full confidence, but those predictions are looking pretty good right now.
I just think strength of schedule has really skewed opinions on Excel. Now, I'm not saying that they're like top of the table team, but from my estimations and doing VOD review, I do feel that Excel is pretty like healthy middle of the pack. And I think what's really exciting is that they get their shot at Misfits this week as well. So a lot of opportunity for Excel to really prove themselves, to start rising up in the minds of a lot of people. Whereas, again, Schalke are just trying to find the roster that works, and that is not it.
And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look down at the item bar right now for Torre and understand that in that instance, Merktreads saved his life. That tenacity just ruined the entire play for Schalke no Fear. That was quite sad. That's brutal. It felt like they finally got the setup they wanted on bot lane. They were finally pushing in. They could have had a kill, and it all just falls apart.
Also, the target selection in general, though, trying to go for the Rakan. I mean, I guess maybe you can make the argument rock in a hard place. It's Kalista or Rakan. They're both like bouncy champions, but that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, really, we're testing a lot of skill shot accuracy today. Like, luckily, Ashe volley is essentially unmissable, or that one would come into question as well. But this is not an easy bot lane to lock down whatsoever. Torre, though, spotted out by the use of the Hawk shot. We check in on the mid lane. For now, Orianna keeping up the pressure. I think not too surprising when you consider the fact that TF has no real effective stats to help him push that wave outside of just continuously leveling wild cards.
Okay, here we go. Dive with the teleport.
They're going to go in. Coming down the backside, there's going to be 1 kill picked up. They've shut down the tower. That's going to be nothing left for Dreams. He's going to get taken out as well. And Lurox just has to walk away empty-handed as XL. They're going to break this one down, too. Such a quick play coming in from Excel. Couple quick kills, get the tower as well. They're only going to give up a few plates in the mid lane. That's a good look. And
the Destiny finally really paying off there. The first one obviously used into the top lane before they disengaged onto the play, but Excel find their moment and really hit hard with the Rift held behind them. Hopefully going to get another charge out of this.
And this is a different team, Crosscurrent. They are absolutely smashing Schalke right now.
I would say, though, that Excel tend to be fairly strong in the early game, or at least decently stabilized, especially when they're against some of our weaker table teams. It's really when the towers start to drop that lane assignments become more important, that Excel really struggle with closing out. And speaking of struggling,
Odoamne is running for his life now. The slows come through. Patrik going to flash forward onto Odoamne. The barrel set up trying to slow him down a little bit more. One more auto. Patrik, no! Can't quite finish the kill. But if you wanted a clear indication as to just how far behind Schalke is, Odoamne getting 1v1 by the 80 carrier right now is a good bet. Oh, Torre's out for blood. No ignite, though, means he won't pull the trigger.
To be fair, it is Kalista, and because she saw that the Gangplank ultimate was used previously, knew that she would have the ability to run him down there. So that's also Patrik just keeping good mind's eye on the cooldowns.
Yeah, and he's finished the Blade of the Rune King as well, while we've only got bits and pieces from Odo. But if we look back at this tower dive, I just got to say, again, the instant execution here is so good to watch.
And while this play is great, and you're talking about that execution, just quickly peek at the minimap. The fact that Excel were able to get shallow control wards, like, yes, there is still a control ward that's missed into that brush, but you can see kind of the pieces of the setup to allow that type of play.
And the sad thing for me is if you look at the opposite side on Schalke, they're very behind the play. You have the Gangplank ult coming out to clear the wave that's already collapsed under the tower, and maybe they didn't have the vision, they didn't feel like they were ready for it, but I think the communication there clearly fumbled.
I mean, the thing is with Schalke's composition, you have an Ashe who has a big piece of CC that you try to dissuade diving. You have a Thresh, which can really protect you, disengage with the Dark Passage, as well as his ultimate to dissuade diving. And then you also have a Gangplank ultimate that you can follow wherever Twisted Fate is going to attack on those side lanes. So it feels like Schalke have a composition that is respecting what Excel's composition wants to execute on, getting out to those side lanes, snowballing, looking for those dives. Unfortunately, it was executed better on the side of Excel.
And that has been consistently the story for this entire game, even going back to that first top lane gank that was fumbled, where Lurox has to flash away from a Wukong who ticks over to level 5 and has 3 creep waves backing him up. This has been an incredibly difficult game for Schalke. This felt like the one that, if they were going to win, it had to be this one. The pressure was on. They needed to turn around their season now, and instead it looks like Excel have taken that momentum from finding a win last week and really just accelerated coming into week 3 here.
And unfortunately, a lot of that started with kind of the botched gank into the top side of the map. When you lose your flash that early as the jungler, and like, what else is Lurox supposed to do? Then he's like, okay, I wait until level 6, maybe to attack the mid lane or maybe to attack the bot lane. But you're never going to find Twisted Fate. He's leaving that lane instantly, so there's not a lot of play for Lurox there. He did manage to get the early Infernal, and then he needs his bot lane to survive, and his bot lane's getting dove. So I feel like Schalke were trying to play defensive in their composition and their lane style, and now the game's kind of quickly gotten away from them. Like, Excel are playing the map so far, and Schalke were just trying to survive the lanes.
And you can see in gold, just highlighted how clearly and how far ahead XL are individually across the map. 5K gold this early in the game, not even 15 minutes into the game. And this looks like Schalke against any... This is a cleaner game from Excel versus Schalke than we saw from G2 versus Schalke. They are not giving Schalke any room to breathe whatsoever.
There's still time, Dracos.
There's still time.
Okay, we have a bit of a trap being set up here. Obviously, Torre standing in Fog of War, waiting for Ashe to step forward if they can CC Locker through her health bar while we wait for Herald to spawn. We've been contesting mid lane priority, so Excel had mid priority, gets walk over, get early vision control, and with Rend and Volibear, feel confident to start this one up.
And the one thing that it felt like Schalke had going for them was the fact that they got that first Drake relatively uncontested. Maybe they could move towards Soul Point, but now that Excel have matched them, now that they're grabbing their second Herald, and this gold lead is going to continue to extend against a team who is not going to struggle to team fight, is not going to struggle to 1-3-1 if they want to, or do Baron when you have a Kalista on that lineup. The game is not over, but it already feels like it's going to take some miracles from the Schalke side to find a way back into this one.
Unfortunately, Schalke just need to be very creative about what fights they pick on the map at this point, and otherwise kind of wait out the strong point that Excel's composition has on some of their champions. And that's not like a clear, this comp outscales, but obviously with Schalke's pieces, like you're playing around Arrow, and you're probably playing for some more items like Gangplank.
Oh, Lurox is coming in. Not a whole lot is going to happen here, but there goes Torre. He wants to finish that one off himself. The Ignite is ticking, and that's some supportal combat. Burns down as he gets the okay thumbs up on the way out.
Finished what his team started.
And once again, just brutal. You see in that play, Lurox just throws up the pillar. He can't do much else. And as you said, Schalke need to get really creative, but at this point, once again, Excel are not giving them any room to do anything. They're pressuring across every lane, and just honestly a miserable start for Schalke. I would be broken at this point in the game. I would be done. So keeping it together feels like the name of the game.
And I think I really like these two champions on your screen for Excel, not just because of Torre's comfort. He's been a phenomenal Rakan player. We all saw that at Worlds. We'll see it in this replay. But Twisted Fate and Rakan, like Rakan allows Excel and Torre to check pretty fearlessly and put down vision because he has so many movement abilities to get back into space.
Hold that thought though, Special's going to get engaged on. He's going to flash away. The arrow's going to go in, but Torre comes through with the body block. He's going to dash into safety, calls for the teammates to move forward, and they just walk right out.
To do exactly that. Torre on Rakan can face check with impunity. He can set down wards, and it doesn't matter if he gets caught out. If he's on other champions that don't have those abilities, constantly you'll see Torre get caught out. He'll start dying. The vision line collapses for Excel. And like, I don't know if this is a conscious thing, but it's kind of where this idea of like comfort picks and playing a pick that kind of band-aids a player's natural weakness or a team's weakness. If it's not just Torre, if it's Excel that aren't, teaming up about when they want to place vision for him. And then Twisted Fate on the other side, if you're finding that your solo laners are really struggling to rotate into your team to be there for the fights, give them a free teleport. Give them the ability to instantly be there and minimize the error of having that timing window.
I mean, you kind of see it across the entire thing, right? We're no longer seeing the Vladimirs and Kaels in the top lane for Kryze, a champion who's going to struggle in the laning phase for a player who was already struggling in the laning phase. Now instead we see the Wukong, who isn't the biggest lane bully in the world, but clearly with a little bit of help he can lay the smackdown in the Wukong versus GP matchup. And yeah, everything going incredibly well so far for Excel. And I love the point about the freedom to face check on a support like Rakan.
Freedom to face check. Yeah, that's a much better way to say it.
No, but I think it's doubled on by this gold advantage that they have because there's just not enough damage right now on the Schalke lineup to get anything done. Because Orianna's, let's say, at pace for where she needs to be in the items. Ashe is a little bit behind. GP, if he's not in the area, can't really do much. So until Orianna gets a few more items under her belt, this is not a team comp that one-shots you before you get out of the CC duration.
Yeah, but that does mean that Schalke have managed to slow things down a little bit. Found some nice free farm lanes. Excel do need to push the envelope a little bit, but they're a team that's really reliant on monster objectives. The Heralds in particular has kind of been the big thing. And when you lose the first 2 Heralds and you're in this window of second Herald has gone away, Baron needs to start up, this is when Excel get a little bit frisky and start going a little sideways.
Frisky is the right word for what we're about to see come through here. Patrik now needs to get out to safety, but Tori's looking for the disengage. Patrik has not gone down quite yet, but he's going to be caught between the entire team. The flash over the wall to safety. Special's now found an isolated target, and bye-bye to the Ashe. No hope for Neon in this one. Spin, spin goes the monkey. Abbedagge going to run for the hills, but the monkey bear combo is a little bit too much for Abbedagge, and now XL have priority path into the mid lane. They will break this tier 2 tower.
It is a full jungle and forest right now.
Look.
Some monkeys, some bears, you got everything in between.
I'm just glad they liked LEC Safari enough to give us the shout out, especially after the shade we threw their way. Well, XL, you're not invisible anymore. This has been a monster performance.
But it's type of plays like that, where it looks like someone's going to get caught out nicely. They use the tools on their composition, the Destiny for one, those teleports coming in to react to the play. But now, Excel have kind of survived that mid game. They got over the hump, they win this team fight, and it gets them that much closer to the Baron spawn, and they can kind of go back to their, paint by numbers League of Legends of this is how you set up the objective, now we look for the picks, and remembering what to do.
And a good hook from Dreams to start this off, and if it wasn't for the monumental gold lead, you have to feel like Patrik would have gone down here, but again, the tools for the Kalista Rakan especially, this is a nigh impossible lane to lock down, and the second you don't kill your first target, well, surprise, surprise, the Twisted Fate and the Wukong can just show up and obliterate you.
Can you imagine being Neon there? You get hit with the gold card as the teleport's coming down, Monkey pops out of it and just whack-a-mole.
There's just nothing. This is the worst game to be in Ashe. Being in a game where you're behind as Ashe, you just feel relegated to the arrow bot. And you don't even have any CDR. That's a long cooldown. Oh. But Frost Current, I'm proud. Is proud the right word? That feels a little.
You can be a proud dad.
I'm proud of Excel. This is a good look. And of course I'm also sad for Schalke, but for Excel to, I think, show this much improved coordination in a week is a good look. Although Caedrel may want to prove me wrong here. He's going to dash over the wall and a clean pickup to Abbedagge. Hashtag Caster Curse.
Why'd you do that? What is wrong with you?
You're proud of me? Not today!
When your child steps up for Little League and just spikes it.
Just held the bat out. He just wanted to walk. He wasn't going to get the opportunity. Oh, no! Wait, right? I've cursed them. I'm so sorry. Okay, can he teleport out to safety? Neon, he's going to make it! Oh, and he's clear. We count that one. Not to get into too many more baseball references, but he's safe. Wave the hands.
We're going to see the replay of what happened with little Caedrel here. So Neon hits this. He is going to spot Caedrel. Caedrel's going to stand perfectly still.
Outplayed himself. Was running the right way to dodge the hook. He almost got out. Fog of War almost saved his life there, but the Orianna just blind throwing the ball there. Works out perfectly.
I mean, there's only one way for him to go.
That's true. It was an educated guess. Well played by Abbedagge and Schalke to find. And that was what we were waiting for. On the last pick, we were saying, hey, this is what Schalke need to do. They need to find this pick, and it didn't work out for them. And then they find almost 2 back-to-back. So I want to continue the conversation that you brought up earlier, which is Excel and kind of their reliance on monster objectives to close the game. Because I think we just got the perfect example of why they might need a Baron or something more.
It's not about needing the Baron to close the game. It's about needing the Baron to remind them what the plot is. Excel get to these mid-games, the map opens up, they get a little bit lost. They don't necessarily know how to create pressure. They don't know how to push together or all at once and kind of keep each other safe. But when you have, band-aids like Destiny, so it doesn't matter if you're out of position, or you're just playing, Kalista Rin style around monster objectives and look at stacking dragons or stacking barons, it's a little bit easier to execute. Just basic paint by numbers League of Legends.
And they are going to grab that 3rd dragon, so we're moving closer and closer to Cloud Soul. 30% ultimate cooldown reduction is going to be a big deal, especially for the Wukong, the Twisted Fate, and the Kalista. So
basically all their champions.
Basically all their champions. Those are just my 3 favorite if we had to pick, if there was a Twitter poll.
I also feel that we're a little bit like snake oil salesmen when we're selling out Cloud Drake. It's like, yes, Cloud Drake. So it doesn't matter what Drake it is. It's like, Cloud Drake, so shield is great against the composition. Cloud Drake, CDR,
So okay, wait, what? So you just feel like Drakes aren't actually that important?
No, Ocean Drake is amazing, Infernal Drake is amazing, and situationally, Mountain can be great.
Oh.
But I'll sell you on anything.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, okay, I like that they didn't go for that play there. I was going to ask you to sell me on it, but I sold myself. I just thought about it. Yeah, there's millions.
They didn't see anyone. And they thought that if they jumped on him, and what? Oh, he doesn't have Hourglass. Oh, no, he has Stopwatch. I was going to say, he must have Hourglass or Stopwatch. And then if they jump on him, they wouldn't kill him fast enough for the possible team that were lurking in River.
But we're at the point, Frostgurn, where there is almost no Baron vision present from the side of Schalke, except for that one lonely ward in the pit, and I believe that is blocked by the control ward from the side of Excel. Now it looks like Kryze might be looking for the cheeky pick onto Odoamne before a fight starts, but Excel conceding a bit of vision here into the pit, playing for some odds and ends is what I would call it, as Kryze is focused here on this blue buff.
Well, Kryze is about to have his teleport cooldown back up. I believe it's just now coming up, and he feels confident to chase down Odoamne, so Excel don't have to be reliant on sieging the Baron. They can try to clean out the map or play the map, especially when you're against a composition that has an Orianna. Maybe not the greatest to always group up.
Especially the Orianna who has Cleanse. Of course, makes sense in the context of the matchup, but with no spellbook of her own, she is a bit limited in the pressure she can provide across the map. And XL, no surprise, are very comfortable pushing forward. They see 3 members in respective lanes to catch farm, so Torre and Caedrel know they're both safe to fight for this vision. Question is, how far is Dreams willing to go? Trying to bait a little bit here, as maybe they can catch Torre on the hook.
We've stalled out a little bit, so it's pretty clear that Excel want to do the Baron, but obviously crossing the I's, dotting the T's. I said that backwards.
You know, in an Excel versus Schalke game, sometimes, you know, you get it cross the I's and dot the T's.
Your notes while looking at a screen?
No, I can't. My eyes look at one in...
That's actually just what happened with my brain.
Thing at a time. All right, well, the Baron has now been started up. Schalke are forced in a position where they need to face check. We'll see what the call is from Excel here, though. Do they just risk the 50-50 and the potential steal? But instead, they're going to pull away. Now, it's important to note, they have not gotten any TPs or any larger advantages here, but they do get the GP ult, and that is important for any fights to come.
Okay, the other big ultimates, obviously, is the Ashe arrow as well as the Shockwave. So we'll see if Excel just rinse and repeat here. Another completed item coming in for Special, so sitting on 3 items.
And I feel like the thing we're just waiting to see, where we've seen so much in the early game from Excel that we hadn't seen in previous weeks, is that clean closeout that we often talk about. And if you're willing to consider them, or ready to consider them, a mid-tier team, Frostgurn, I feel like that's a must-have, is closing out with an advantage that is this massive.
I don't know, I've seen a lot of fumbles from our mid-tier teams.
That's true.
Especially around the Baron area. Okay, we're back to this strategy. A lot of time has been, what's the word I'm going to use?
Spent.
Given to Schalke.
Given, ooh, there you go.
Okay, round 2. Schalke know that this is happening. I assume a little bird's going to come out. There we go, bird.
Robo Bird, this is the project skin. They will see the Baron, but thrown a little far.
Ooh,
could have left it in the pit.
Oh, we're Kino.
Kryze going in. He's just going to one-shot Ashe. Neon, ooh, has to flash into safety. A good flash, though. 3K on the Baron. They can maybe get Lurox into the pit and turn this one around. 3K getting lower. Now, of course, there is a Kalista. This smite steal should be absolutely impossible. Can he do it? Kalista going to take it. Lurox denied, and it's Kryze right into the back line. Odoamne's in the fight, but it's too little too late. That's a Wukong highway to get Torre right into the back line, and ooh, clean sweep, and Schalke no fear right off the rift. Abbedagge holding on for what he can, but Baron for Excel, a fight to boot. The gold card's going to come in, and hey, you can't dodge that one. In goes Rakan one more time, and oh man, you love to see it. Patrik and Torre, too clean in that fight.
Torre is just having a field day right now. I think you called it the Wukong highway. He rode that one right into the back line and then got involved on the Orianna play on the back end. That was clean, clean Rakan.
Let's one more time. Why not? Give it to us again.
So this starts out with the fact that Neon had to burn his flash. So little Ashe, no flash. At this point, you're like, my name's Ashe. I've got no flash. I'm about to. I can't do anymore.
No, you can't. You do. I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up. So Lurox obviously goes for the smite steal. It's next to impossible. Here's the big deal, though. Kryze drops the clone. What does the clone do? That's the highway, baby. Torre, as I said, rides it to the back line. The bear comes over the wall, paving the way for Patrik to get in scot-free. And at the end here, it's a huge team effort, but I love what we see from Patrik and Torre, the communication between the team here. Easy cleanup if you do it right, and they do it right. Leap in, has the Fate's Call, has the gold card. Flawless coming in from XL.
I wanted to make he got his Ashe kicked joke, and I just couldn't get it out.
The second you unintentionally start rhyming, it's really hard to keep composure.
Sometimes just give me a beat, man. Why do you always get to be the rap god?
I'll just ad-lib in the background. Oh, man. Well, for Schalke, it was next to impossible, and while we were watching that juicy replay a second time, XL have picked up Cloud Soul. So this is one big victory lap, and it was a miracle Schalke needed before to find a way back into the game, and now it is flat-out divine intervention if they're going to find this one, or maybe enough caster curses to last a lifetime. But Oda will do what he can to hold on. Sadly, wave clear not super good. His special just guides this. Well, he wants that. He knows the cleanse is gone. He's getting frisky, and I love it.
He did the math. I like the fact that you brought up Divine Intervention. It feels like Schalke are getting a little bit desperate, throwing some desperation arrows, but those are the only options that they have at this point. Backs against the wall. What you got, lads?
Engage one more time. Torres zooming into the back line, can get his way right back out. TF now going to come in, but they are fighting in a very tenuous area from XL. Would not be possible if they did not have a massive lead, but they make it work anyway. They have not lost a single member, and they've taken down 3 on the side of Schalke. This should be a closeout. They just need to escort the minions in. Dreams desperately trying to hold on, hoping for his outplay moment, but the most he can hope for at this point is to survive. He's flashed over the wall to get to safety, but here comes the bear. Nothing left for the poor High Noon Thresh. XL, fantastic game from start to finish. That was mad disrespectful special. I respect it. Flashing the Schalke, no fear. Now no Zex, as they are yet to find a win.
Early game, very clean from XL. Again, they really